Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a Premier League presentation. I'm Blaze, bringing you guys a game between Team Liquid and 3D Clan. This is Game 2 of this Best of 3 series, and it has been an exciting one so far. Team Liquid taking the last game by storm. I'm here joined with Rainmaker. How's it going, man?
It's going really well. I'm really excited to go and see Team Liquid play again. I really hope 3D Clan can kind of get themselves together and recoup after that basically what was a stomp last game. They are a very talented team and they have the potential to do well. I've got to say their laning phase was very strong against Team Liquid, and Team Liquid they're a team that is known for having very devastating laning phases. So that is to 3D's credit, but it just fell apart in the mid game. They weren't able to deal with the range of initiation coming out from Bulba, coming out from Korok, and then TC's amazing farm on the bot lane led him to do so much damage to these underfarm supports and offlane heroes on poor 3D Clan. But if they're able to go and take that good laning advantage they have and translate that into good laning that 3D has and translate that into some sort of advantage, which I admit will be very difficult against Team Liquid, they might be able to go and get something done. And again, 3D is banning out that Wisp.
Yeah.
Although this time they do not in fact have the first pick, so I take it back. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it's very, very logical in the sense that Team Liquid has so many different options the way they want to play this year. They aren't on Radiant, so the mid pull wouldn't be that big of a deal, but it's still a very powerful hero that if you can hit 6 and get that global presence rolling, it can be a very frustrating thing to deal with. And Team Liquid banning out the Undying, it is a powerful hero that can be frustrating in 3v3 circumstances, but in general, he seems to have fallen out of favor just a little bit. People are learning how to deal with him a bit more, focusing on the Tombstone, coordinating in that regard, and I haven't seen him banned out as extensively as he used to be, at least, and I'm curious to see if this might be a little bit of a throwaway ban for Team Liquid to open up the Keep It Light and the Nyx Assassin to see pretty much play a little bit of a game of chicken with 3D Clan, which one they're going to let through, and it looks like it's going to be the Nyx.
Yeah, and this also, if 3D Clan doesn't go and pick up, a Batrider coming up next, I wouldn't be surprised to see Team Liquid go for both. Those are the two heroes that Team Liquid never gets to play, and I've never seen them lose a game where they have Batrider or Nyx Assassin. Now I'm going to be curious to see. I don't believe I've seen Sharfik play Batrider yet, so this might be a jungle bat coming out from 3D Clan, and that's going to go and really hurt 3D's lanes if they decide to go for it. Mind, it could still be a mid Batrider, which is a very strong hero, and it's going to put Korok in kind of a rough spot, because he's not going to have mid pulls to work with, and he's going to be laning against a Batrider. We've seen him do it again as Puck a couple times, just using the fact you can go and basically always survive as Puck at least, and you'd get those levels, get that experience, and translate that to kills later on in the game. Oh man, they're going into that Bulba Clockwork's going to be a force once again, but I think that, wow, this is Team Liquid. They really know what they like. It's definitely been working for them, but cool stuff. 3D Clan, they're going for a much later game strategy, and the synergy, however, is a little bit interesting coming out from 3D Clan. They have a lot of single target damage, especially coming from, they have the damage amplification, they have Spirit Lance, so they have Batrider to hold someone together. But in terms of team fight, none of their heroes, until I suppose Phantom Lancer goes really, really late, have a lot of team fight presence. And even Phantom Lancer, if he gets his illusions caught in a call down, or even if he falls behind and the Gyrocopter is able to do enough damage with Flak Cannon, he made a lot of trouble. Also, Batrider doesn't actually like Nyx Assassin very much, just because you can always get stunned, because Nyx can always choose just to walk into that flames. And same with Clockwork makes Batrider's life very difficult. Just between Cogs and Battery Assault, it's very difficult to fly away. So I feel that Team Liquid has an advantage here. Again, 3D Clan, the late game is fairly well locked up in terms of Phantom Lancer, so if their lanes go well and they're able to go and get some sort of advantage early on, they should be fine. They have the hero to get the advantage in that Batrider, but it just seems like Team Liquid's in a very, very safe spot right now.
Most definitely. Yeah, what you're saying is very, very true. Specifically, that interaction, that questionable pickup of the Phantom Lancer going into the Gyrocopter. If Team Liquid shifts their focus a bit and decides once again to go for farm on the Gyrocopter over dominance in the mid game through Korok playing him, I think that would set up Gyrocopter to have enough attack damage to completely annihilate the Phantom Lancer's illusions and nullifying most of his fight presence in the team fights in general. So until the Phantom Lancer picks up a Heart of Tarrasque, it's going to be difficult for him to actually have a huge contribution. And like you said, Team Liquid has been very, very stable in their most recent picks. Clockwork is pretty much a go-to here for them, and Bulba they trust in that regard. They're just willing to initiate with him at any point in time, think he can survive effectively enough. And the only weakness of predictability is the fact that people can try to work around it and develop counter strats, but at this position, Batrider and Phantom Lancer don't necessarily scream a counter pick to me. Like you said, the Batrider up against a Carapace, he gets stunned out so easily, and that's a long disable. When you accompany that with the Impale, jumping in aggressive aggressively and then being stunned for 7 seconds straight, or sorry, 5 seconds, obviously. That was a little bit much, but
Yeah.
still, 5 seconds straight, that's going to be very, very painful for whoever picks with Batrider, even if it's somebody as smooth of a player as Sharfik. But now we see the Storm Spirit bands coming out as well as the Magnus, and without the Darkseer or the Magnus in the pool, the AoE teamfight isn't going to be as relevant here. But we also see Enchantress and Chen taken out, so that Fluff and stuff will have less options available himself.
Yeah, one hero that I wouldn't be surprised to see from 3D Clan is whoa, but they do have the battery. I'm very curious to see how they're laning. I think they're going to keep that hidden until their last pick. They're probably going to pick up their long lane hero now, and then we'll be able to see whether they're going to go and try to summon their tri lane and just grab another support, allow Batrider to go mid, or in fact go for that jungle Batrider. And I wouldn't say jungle Batrider is necessarily a bad idea because they do need a very well timed blink for him to do a lot of damage, and Batrider is one of the fastest junglers in the game. I don't think Liquid can, in fact, aggressively tri-lane, even with the heroes they have just now. I think we saw NS go on that support Clockwork, Nyx Assassin, and Gyrocopter. That's a lot of damage, but I just don't think we'll see it. Team Liquid's very comfortable running the lineups they're on right now, and they're seeming to work. So it seems like they're just going to allow Bulba on that long lane, and I think that just between a Shadow Demon and a Phantom Lancer, they can go and keep Bulba down. So having a jungle Batrider won't hurt their lanes that much, and it's just so much farm that you're just being able to pick up. But it depends, and once again, it could just be a purely mid Batrider. That's a powerful part of picking up that hero because it goes and makes Team Liquid draft in a very uncomfortable way because they don't know where it will end up. And then at the last minute, you can switch up, especially considering that 3D Clan has last pick.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting going on through. I'm not sure if Enigma would have been their hero of choice, but they definitely had the option of going for that jungle setup. 2.511 would have fit perfectly with the heroes they've already selected here, so 3D Clan just doesn't want to have to deal with that distribution of experience. The Bane comes out. I'm not actually sure if IX Mike or Fluff are going to pick that up because generally speaking we see IX Mike on the Nyx, but I guess either one of them can fill that role, so we'll see the Bane maneuvering around. But one thing that I gotta say about this Bane pick is it does make sure that a lone druid offlane is not going to be as much of an option, the Nightmare kind of being a counter pick to the Spirit Bear, and that's something that I think 3D Clan might have been looking into, but now they're just, like you're saying, going to cement their tri-lane, getting that secondary support. Shadow Demon, Phantom Lancer, and Venomancer are going to be on the bottom lane, which leaves Batrider to the mid or off lane, which in general is not going to be two options he wants to take unless they decide to go for kind of a 3.5-1-0 and just abandon the top lane altogether.
Yeah, but I mean, Team Liquid also, look how flexible their lineup is. If they want to, they can go and aggressively tri-lane with the Gyrocopter. Gyrocopter Bane Nyx is probably one of the best aggressive tri-lanes in Dota. And then they're not, wow, okay, this is, they might have a solo mid Nyx Assassin here, a long lane Clockwork, and then have the Bane Visage Gyrocopter as a tri-lane.
Damn. And also got to mention Bane is a pretty great solo hero as well. So Nyx and Bane going to be their two options. But if it is Nyx versus Brewmaster, Nyx generally has an advantage there with the Carapace if you can time it appropriately. But Brewmaster can try to cancel Thunderclaps back and forth to try to control. So we'll see how the lanes work out. It's a little unorthodox one way or another, but I honestly wouldn't be entirely surprised if we saw an aggressive tri-lane with this Visage looking for the 3v3 versus PL.
Yeah, I mean, they have the nuke damage, but going into a 3v3 situation, just basically tri-lane versus tri-lane, if you're against a Venomancer, it's very tricky to go and to actually get the kills, because TC is going to be slowed down. That Gale is just so strong from levels 1 to 3, and while Visage is, you know, one of the best tri-lane heroes, and they do have a great setup coming up from the Bane, excuse me, they're still going into a Disruption and a Venomous Gale, so it's going to be pretty difficult. Also, Lance is a very good slow. While there's no stuns coming out from the 3D's lineup, I don't know if they're still able to go and attack into it.
Prepare for battle.
Yeah, most definitely. So it looks like right now Solo, Dread, and Nexus are going to head towards that bottom, and it seems that means they're going to leave Batrider for the mid lane. They do have that setup where he does have 3 branches and a tango, but if they want, I don't know, the same kind of build is going on through from Sharfik, 3 branches himself, so both of them going to have an interesting time one way or another, but they're a little bit unpredictable as far as where they want to set up shop at the beginning of the game here. Beyond that, we do see IX Mike looking for some aggressive warding early on, but he might be met with some confrontation. A simple disruption into Spirit Lands could put him in a really rough spot, so crossing paths here, they're not really willing to commit to that overextended position without the backup from the team. Looking at Gyrocopter, it looks like this is a build that could easily be moving in towards an aggressive aggressive tri-lane with the Wraithband starting off and just some regen to start him off. But I think they want to change up the pace. They're kind of shifting back and forth, and I don't think they were 100% certain how they wanted to lane this until they saw what was going on down bottom, and from there they're going to have to shift things up. Because one thing that was in my mind as well was the potential of going with a Shadow Demon and Brewmaster up on top and trying to be playing aggressively while the Nexus farms on bottom, kind of what we were talking about at the beginning of the draft on Game 1, but it's not going to be really working out for them in that fashion. They're going to send Batrider on the offlane, and we'll just have to see if Servorka has what it takes to go 1-to-1 versus Gyrocopter until the supports come on in.
Yeah, Nexus just went for that DD, just got quickly denied up by Fluff, and it's just gonna. I'm curious, are they actually just gonna hold down here? This is another tri lane. You can go and like NS has been the one to really show that Clockwork is very competent even without a ton of levels. Cogs is so strong at early levels, and he does a surprising amount of damage. This, if they decide to go for this, it's a little bit strange. I suppose the farm priority could go on perhaps Bulba, perhaps even Fluff can go and farm up on his Visage, but I don't know if they're going to be able to shut down Nexus unless they get a really good nuke combo off, and even then, I don't know if they're going to be able to go and jump into the pulls, because it's very difficult to go and walk into that Venomancer.
Okay, going with the cogs on Nexus, trying to bring him down early. He doesn't have anything skilled, so he can doppelwalk out. He will be forced to. That's a lot of mana to go on through with that. Bulba taking a couple of hits from the tower, but we'll be able to tango and salve on up later on in the future. And now that Gale is unavailable, no magic stick up on solo means it'll be a full clarity before he's actually able to get that cooldown off once again. And that temporarily gives Liquid control of the bottom lane here, as Dread just tries to get that pull action going on through, denying some creeps to neutrals will help them out in the long run as far as making sure Liquid doesn't have too much going in their favor for the moment.
Yeah, I mean, this is really greedy play coming out from 3D supports, and they do this all the time. They're just kind of allowing Nexus to go and do his own thing, while lucky stun coming out from the center there. But they kind of let Nexus do his thing while they go and farm up, but I don't know if that was right. I feel like they had a pretty decent chance of actually being able to get a kill, or at least protecting the Phantom Lancer, allowing him to go and skill that Lance instead on that bot lane. It's just, if it works out for them, it will be good, but I just can't imagine it working
up on top lane, a lot of confrontation between these two, but it looks like he's going to kite him out with the Napalm back on bottom. Actually, everything going on all at once, but it looks like Ike's Mike is focus target down on bottom. They're going to be able to lance him up. He gets the currently trying to deny himself with the Nightmare, but it will inevitably force him to drop, and now they're just going to fall back from there, Fluff and stuff, getting disruptioned up, and it looks like he may be a second kill. He is completely surrounded 100% by his own illusions and that of the enemy's heroes, so that was unfavorable for them, of course, as they dropped down 2-0, and now they are kind of in a rough spot. They want this aggressive tri-lane to be getting the kills, not being thrown on the back end, and like you said, that Venomancer and that Shadow Demon, once they get going, it's impossible to escape from them, and knowing that Clockwork wasn't in the right position to really go into that confrontation, 3D Clan was able to capitalize on it very nicely.
Yeah, and you know that's where just getting those extra levels on the Shadow Demon early on is going to be starting to pay off. If they're able to also pick up just like fast levels of poison and just perhaps even decide to go and max that damage amplification early on. Oh, looks like Nexus is going and getting Nightmared up here. They're going to be able to cogs him away, and then perhaps is a Visage Nuke going to be there, and it's going to be enough.
Yeah, they can't doppelwalk, the Magic Stick not being sufficient there, so they are able to bring him down, even if the Sentry Ward wasn't down. But either way, getting the kill on the Visage and putting the Phantom Lance in the grave will put him behind. He's going to buy up his own TP scroll and set him back from those early Tranquil Boots, which will be highly necessary to be able to sustain in such an aggressive situation. And Bulba just creep jacking a little bit. As back and forth on the mid lane, there's been a lot of aggression. Korok is dropping down to 40 HP, but it's just kind of been back and forth, 100%. The bottle crowing going on through, and that's just pretty much really, really good action for the supports to get the Flying Courier up as early as they have, because otherwise Korok would have to fall back from to the base and lose out on a ton of solo mid experience.
Yeah, now you'll notice on that bot lane, Dread standing a lot closer to Nexus. They've had to admit that the amount of nuking damage coming up from Liquid's lineup is significant. They're not going to be able to go and get that absolute free farm that they desire, and perhaps now they're even going to decide to go for a kill themselves. They do have the vision advantage right now. They know where the sentry is being placed, so they know where the wards are for Liquid's lineup, and they're just deciding not to do anything. But I just don't see why they're playing so defensively when they have heroes like Venomancer and Shadow Demon. They can go and set up for kills, but instead they're just deciding to go and farm up a little bit more than I think they probably should be.
Yep, and Dread scouting out the bottom rune in Viz, but it looks like Korak is going to make his way there. Most likely it will be denied by the supports, but just being there, they're putting themselves in a rough position that Bulba will want to try to capitalize on. Now Korak, 1v1 up against Dread, gets the Impale off to set up his allies to come on in. Mana Burn dropping him down, 170 HP, dropping rapidly, and he will take a fall. And they take up the rune as well. Korak bottling up to full, and we'll be able to use that to play aggressively. The Gale does come out from solo. IX might going to take some hits from that, but in general, it's not really going to change their situation. They're going to get that kill, and from there, helping the Nyx Assassin in the sense that that rune is not going to go to the Brewmaster.
Yeah, I mean, and that's just the Nyx Assassin is getting those levels, getting the farm, and it's going to be very, very dangerous for these squishy supports like the Venomancer, like the poor Shadow Demon. When that Nyx goes and gets access into Vendetta, it looks like just putting a little bit more damage on Sharfik as well, harassing him down in the mid lane, and just back and forth there. One thing to note is that Sharfik is going to be able to have a lot of impact if once he goes and gets access into that ultimate. It's basically you're going to win a team fight when you go and cast your Panda ult at level 6 and level 11. While the hero falls off a little bit in the later game, it's a very good combination with Vandalmancer because it gives you that kind of mid-game punching power.
They're going to Lance up and Gale down on IX Mike. A lot of damage coming on through to him. He doesn't have any more cooldowns available, no Brain Tapper, and no Magic Stick. So with the Soul Catcher, they're going to be able to dish out a ton of damage to him, but Venomancer falls first. They turned it around with Fluff and Bulba together, dishing out a ton of damage now, trying to focus down on Shadow Demon. Without Disruption available, they'll be able to do a ton here, but the Cogs won't. Actually, they have almost enough damage. They can just barely get away. Fluff, not so fortunate there. Nexus getting that last Lance on through. Rank 3, a lot of nuke damage and even more slow. So it turns out in favor of 3D Clan as only the Venomancer falls for 2. Now getting the Gale on Bulba, IX Mech is going to have to keep him safe for the moment.
Yep, and that I wouldn't be surprised this lane also. One thing to note is the Phantom Lancer picked up probably what's the best item in the tri lane, that magic wand really early. I wouldn't be surprised to go and see it on the supports as well. The Shadow Demon not quite having enough money, but the Venomancer going for it. And is this Nyx Assassin going to be able to get off a solo kill if they get a little bit greedy with the stack?
He has the Vendetta still available. The defensive disruption comes out. Korak does pop off the Vendetta, raring to go. Big damage coming on out. He just needs one more nuke to finish the job. The mana burn only burns 76 as he's almost out in turn, so he's going to go on a wild goose chase while Clockwork takes a ton of damage, trapped in with the neutrals. Nightmare up. No, the Spirit Lance is going to finish off Bulba. Still trying to pursue. They got the kill on the Venomancer. In the end, the Impale from Korak finishing the job. Korak will still get this Invis rune, which will help him out against Sharfik, but the Visage is going to have to help him out of that spot because otherwise that Primal Split would easily do Korak in. So trying to turn things around a little bit, but it's mostly harassment. They definitely know they can't take him all 100% to 0, so that's going to be an odd exchange, but we did miss up on top. Gyrocopter going up against that Batrider. He popped off the lasso and was able to get a kill, so good move from Soroka, and that obviously gives him a huge advantage in the lane as he now tops out in experience per minute.
Yeah, Gyrocopter is playing a little bit aggressive, thinking those phase boots are a bit too much, but if you're able to get a few too many stacks up on that Batrider, you're able to basically solo kill just about anyone, especially with that, sticking
popping up the split in mid. Korak doesn't have any mana available, so he's going to get stunned up and right-clicked on down. The Fire Panda doing too much damage for Korak to survive, and Brewmaster will be in a really great spot. Can't juke away from that. Just too many guys microed on through, and they're going to be in a great spot. Now the Brewmaster has picked up a solo kill for himself, but I apparently am having some audio issues in-game, so I'm going to try to work with that a little bit as you can continue.
Yeah, one great thing coming out from Team Liquid is they go and use this. From 3D is they go and use this time where the Brewmaster has to go and fall back a little bit to go and give their supports a little bit more farm. 3D loves farming on their supports. We've seen it this entire game. They're off in the jungle, pulling, stacking, just getting experience, getting levels, and they use this. Excuse me. They use this to kind of get themselves an advantage in the mid game where they're not very easily able to be picked off, especially when you get start getting things like bracers, urns, and stuff on these squishier supports. And they're able to go and buy all of these consumable items. They always have wards, they always have smokes, and look at this, Dread, he's completely willing to go and push off a little one-man smoke because his team's going to give him the room to go and farm for that. And they use this kind of support farm and experience to go and make plays where other teams just really would not be able to. Unfortunately, it looks like Dread did smoke within vision. Oh, no, he did not. They just, great map awareness coming out from DC. He knows that there's something fishy going on. He knows that he can't see either of the supports on the map, and decides that he definitely doesn't want to take another fall to this Batrider.
Korak's sneaking on into a very aggressive position here, finds out Nexus, but that Doppelwalk comes out immediately. Dread popping off the Disruption, trying to do some damage to him, but Korak's not really in a bad spot. Sentry Ward does come out. He does pop off the Gale, so Carapace will have to come on through, or at least Bulba will have to be at his back to make sure that they're not going to be able to initiate on him fully. But that's still half his HP bar wasted, and it's just pretty much him being in that aggressive position. But at least it forced down the TP, and instead he's going to Vendetta a TP up top with that bottle active and try to go on Batrider here. They have the initiation. The call down will come on through with the stun, and they also have that Carapace, which is a nice stun as well. So Batrider, no chance in the world. He gets ganked up. Nice movement and transition from Korok, and from there Fluff will just hold on to the mid lane for dear life to get some experience of his own.
Yeah, and I don't think that Fluff can really get punished here, but if he's only sitting at level 4, that's a very awful spot for him to be in. Comparing that, we have the Venomancer. Ooh, wow, all the supports are a lot. Yep.
Yeah, a lot of damage coming on through. They try to go for the disruption, but just start off with the Soul Catcher, and they're not really able to do too much with that. Same thing with the Soul Assumption, not too much actual damage going across. So Sharfik is going to have a lot more bark than bite as he tries to force some pressure on. Now go for the disruption, but the flank comes in from Korok, so he is going to get this stun off on one of them, and now Bubba looking for some big damage on Dread. Will not be able to follow through. Instead, just focusing down on Sharfik, changing their perspective to him. They should be able to bring him down. Magic Wand keeping him up for the moment, but Battery Assault keeping him in range to be dropped down with one more right click after that Grave Chill comes on through. So a little bit of prolonged, but inevitably a good kill for them, and they get to bottle up a regen rune as a little bit of a trophy.
Yeah, and that goes and means the Nyx Assassin, who is actually very low on the farm department, not farming particularly well at all in that mid lane. Very difficult to go and farm against a Beastmaster who's just constantly, sorry, not Beastmaster, Brewmaster that's constantly clapping. But as he slowly moves forward, he's going to pick up perhaps Arcane Boots, and I wouldn't be surprised. Oh, that was a little bit cute there. A little deny of the ward, of the rune with that Venomancer ward, I believe. And with that Arcanes, and perhaps even a fast Blink Dagger from Quark, they're going to once again have that range of initiation that Team Liquid loves to play with. One thing to note is their Bane has, this is Ike's Mike, okay? Like, he is the one branch Bane that's going and walking around without boots, but he's going to still have a pretty decent impact, sitting already at level 5. He might be stacking up, he is in fact stacking Ancients for TC to go and pick up later on. And this is going to be even more levels for Ike's Mike to pick up. If you look at TC, he definitely anticipated this. That Flat Cannon has already maxed, and he is going to be able to clear those stacks fairly quickly.
He has face boots, but he's going to take a lot of damage from Sharfik here and possibly will go down just straight up from the potential of the Rune Master. Can't TP on that with that Tornado still available for the Air Elemental, but instead they do actually put them in the cogs, so all three of them grouped up, and Brewmaster might get turned around on here. They cannot escape the Wind Elemental. They're just going to hold the Earth Panda hostage, and in the end, they're going to be able to do so many stuns to him to drop him down with relative ease.
Yeah, and this is just the power of Team Liquid. They're always willing to come to the fight. They always have a TP, and they're willing to go and turn down these really aggressive dives into counter ganks, and that goes and gives them a lot of levels and support that other teams would not have. They were losing their tri lane quite badly, and even now they're that Phantom Monster is farming at a very scary rate, but they're able to go and get all these farms and levels on their supports just by these fantastic counter ganks. And let's see if Mike's actually going to go and manage to go and pick up boots within the next 20 seconds.
That's obviously his general intention, but I gotta say in general the item builds for Liquid, actually I do hear a lot going on. So back on mid, he's just going to use the cog to try to get out of a bad spot. Batrider still pursuing on through, and with that Gale they're going to be able to lasso him up the cliff. Nice maneuver there, and he is in a terrible spot. Will be dropped down with no trouble at all. So I gotta say that was really good uphill Gale, and following that up with the Batrider ulti, making sure they can net one more on the board. So 8-7, and since they have that Phantom Lancer late game, they're okay to take this a little bit further on. But I'm trying to think, oh yeah, as far as items go, I was talking about Magic Sticks and Magic Wands on Liquid right now. They're up against the Batrider. There's quite a bit of spam from the other heroes as well, and so what they're looking at here, they're like, okay, well, every single hero except for Ike's Mike, as of course he's very fragile right now. We do see initiation going on, so I'll focus on that for the time being. We do actually see cogs go on through, call down inside, Impale. Batrider is going to take a ton of damage, will be dropped, and with no Primal Split available, they have no choice but to run. And now Familiar is trying to drop some big stones on through, but it doesn't seem to be working out for them. Nightmare is pretty much the only way they can jump in. Sharfik is currently asleep. They want to go in aggressively on him, but no homing missile charging as he hasn't skilled it up. Instead, the Impale to set it up with Rocket Barrage. Nice defensive disruption, but it might just delay things. The tier 1 still up, going to be able to dish it out a ton of damage, but Sharfik dropping very quickly, has to fall back. Solo, it's a big soul assumption and drops down. Galed up on TC though, he might fall just from tower and from the Demonic Purge, he will. And with that, they're going to actually be able to chase them out from this position. Nexus still has one more lance available. Dread dropping low, will take a fall to too much damage from Bulba and Korok to combine together. No pops off Magic Wand, he's surviving for the moment. Bulba finishes the job. And now the Familiar is trying to stun out, but it's not going to be enough. Soul Assumption after Soul Assumption coming through, but Bulba takes a fall. Now Nexus pursuing onto Fluff. Last Soul Assumption to drop to try to bring down Servo, and they have the Familiar damage. Korok finishes him off, not in time though. It's going to be the death of Fluff and stuff as well as the Batrider as Korok just runs for the hills. One last glance available? No. He's not going to be able... Oh, Gale will do it. So Korak is going to drop as well. Actually, he does Carapace. Can there be a deny? No. Attempt to deny from the familiar, but it's just going to be dropped down for 100 bounty. And from there, TPs are coming on in, but I feel this fight is a little bit over and very much in favor of 3D Clan.
Yeah, the fact that Nexus just lived through that, all of that, got all that experience, got all that gold, he's finished the defusal now, and he's basically caught back up. You know, all the effects of that tri-lane have been completely nullified now, and it's going to be really, really rough, because if you look at this, IX Mike is not going to be able to last very long if that level 4 Spirit Lance comes in, and just whacks him 2 times. He's going to lose a tremendous amount of mana, and just a lot of HP along with that. It seems like... Nexus is also going for that super battle ready build where he's going to pick up the defusal and the fast drums, and that's going to give them that a little bit more team fight presence. And you've got to remember that entire fight happened while the Brewmaster split was down. That was basically the worst time for 3D to fight, and they still managed to go and pull it off really well. And it just came down to the fact that, you know, TC's calldown was not able to land on multiples. The cogs were not able to land on multiples. They had to go really deep. They had to go and dive that tower, and it was just, they were going and fighting against a tremendous amount of slows. They had the Purge, they had the Venomancer Gale, they had constant Spirit Lances, they were all going and jumped with they had a bunch of nape on all of them. I don't know why Team Liquid thought they needed to take that fight. I agree that, you know, they don't want this game to go into the super late game. They are playing against a Phantom Lancer who now is very strong, but before that fight it seemed like they were forcing an issue that they had really no reason to force.
Yeah, definitely. And now we do see Nexus kind of doing some split push action down on the tier 2 tower on bottom. Went for a rank 2 defusal really early on, not really prioritizing the charges, just wants to make sure those illusions can hit as hard as possible, and it will help out in that regard, but he needs to build some tank if he wants this to sustain. Maybe just a Drum of Endurance if his allies aren't going to be moving that way. Batrider might, but we do actually see Korak flanking on in underneath behind Solo, and there's just too many here. I can't imagine that Venomancer is going to get out of here. They do have the TP coming in, but Phantom Lancer even cancels it out. Nexus is like, screw it, Solo's gonna die eventually, we're just gonna let him. So Sharfik does come on through. He does have that ultimate, but it is just pushing him out for the moment, and it looks like Liquid is actually gonna fall back. They don't know what's forthcoming. Down in bottom lane, it looks like a Nightmare on an Illusion will keep Fluff alive, just barely surviving. IX Mike gonna be running for the hills, but slowed down too much. That defusal blade damage, just right clicking him on down and popping off a charge just to make sure he will net the kill. So it was actually Nexus, instead of TPing on away, turned around to aggression, knew that 3 people were committed to top lane, and from there was able to get 1 kill by himself. So nice for him.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually surprisingly difficult to dive a Venomancer in that position, because with a ward you can completely block off your enemies, which it just puts, it's more time that you have to waste getting in there. And with a Panda coming in, that Brewmaster coming in to go and having that split available, it's not a fight you really want to take, especially when you consider the fact that TC doesn't have those kind of items we've come to expect from him.
They were going for the stun, but instead the Primal Split pops off. Too much damage. He's going to pop the Vendetta, but the Sentry Ward is down. They're going to close in on him. Can they get the last Disable, though? He's so close to death, but he will survive. Pops off the Magic Wand, breaking Vendetta, and that means he will get dropped here. If he kept in Vendetta, I think he would have survived, but unfortunately for him, he just wanted to get a little bit more HP, and that did not pan out for him in the end. So he drops down. That finishes up Brewmaster's Blink Dagger, buying it from the side shop. He can initiate very actively with that clap. Not the split just yet, but that's the least of his worries, as he wants to try to be high pressure really early on, and that's why he's TPing on into mid lane. Servo taking too much damage, though. IX Mike Fiend's gripping him up, and that's 1 early kill on the Batrider. Dread is in, but he's out of mana. Has to just sustain on Magic Stick charges alone. They're trying to go aggressive, but I just don't feel they have the opportunity with Fluff dishing out tons of damage back and forth, and they just don't have the mana to support it.
Yeah, but if you look at TC, he just took 1 lance, took a couple right clicks, and he's forced all the way back. Right now, they're in a very bad position because this Phantom Lancer has gotten a little bit too strong. If you look at him, he's sitting at 7-1. He went wicked sick this game, and when he finishes that drum, which I believe is in fact on the way, it's going to be even harder. And yes, that is a completed drum defusal 2 at 18 minutes. This is not bad timing considering he was aggressively tri-laned. It just, you know, speaks well of Nexus. He was able to pick up this farm. A lot of it, however, did come from that fight middle where Team Liquid committed very heavily and Nexus just was able to clean up. Let's see what Team Liquid's plan is here. It looks like there's some kills on the top lane.
Yeah, actually missed that out there. They just, Venomancer overextending himself, didn't really respect the potential of Korak initiating with that Vendetta, which is a very short cooldown, only sitting at 60 seconds at rank 2. He can just be very active across across the map, and Bulba actually using the hookshot to make sure that kill was going to be locked down. And that's very important to get these kills at this stage, because one thing we haven't really mentioned is Bulba has been forced away from his mechanism over and over again. Keeps jumping into team fights and being as aggressive as his character demands. It just puts him in a bad spot. Now Batrider getting a lot of damage forthcoming, and they should be able to bring him down, no trouble at all. The Carapace and the Cogs pushing him out, but the disruption for the time being keeping him alive. He blinks on out of the disruption. Wow, that's just a lot of potential there. Now they will survive and try to bring down Korok. He is on low life, but it's the Shadow Poison stacks, not the Napalm, and that means that they're going to have a long chase to go on through. The Carapace will pop off in a moment to try to keep him alive, and instead they're just going to wait it out and burn him down immediately after the fact. So he does take a fall in the end, and meanwhile we did see down on bottom lane that there was pressure on that Phantom Lancer, actually bringing down Nexus. So he played aggressively, but unfortunately for them, do they have a gem, or he just didn't have the invis up?
I believe there were just sentries on the ground there, but yes, that looks like a dire sentry. Oh no, I'm just wrong.
Yeah.
They just did it. Fluff, probably just all the nuke damage there that he wasn't expecting coming, so he didn't decide to doppelwalk, because I believe he did have, in fact, have mana.
Yeah. So we do see Venomancer trying to get a Gale off onto Fluff and stuff, but it's not going to happen. Instead, the Familiars will help peel Sharfik off so that he won't be able to pursue long term. And these, I gotta say, have been a lot of really, really extended combat sessions. And part of that is involved in the fact that there's the magic sticks all across the board. But actually, we see Fluff picked off by that Batrider lasso. He's been pursued so long by Sharfik, but here comes the Gyrocopter. TC about to dish out a ton of damage, but not before Fluff falls. Now they're going to try to bring down the Batrider with that Fiend's Grip active. Earth Panda stun unavailable now, and with the Cogs here trapping in all the pandas, they might be able to bring him down after it expires. Venomancer falls to TC. The Primal Split only lasts a moment longer, and now Sharfik is full HP, but is going to be stunned up and drop down immediately. Nexus dropping down really rapidly himself. Doppel walks south and does get disruption for the moment. Now Dread taking too much. He will take a fall, and the Radiant Sentry, I guess that was just to make sure they didn't have sentries themselves, but either way, Nexus survives, but at the cost of all 4 members of his team. That was just really, really smooth play from Liquid, and I gotta say 3D Clan got a little bit overconfident in that fight. After the lasso picked off on the Fluff and stuff, they should have fallen back, and they picked a fight they just couldn't take.
Well, I mean, it also came down to the fact that all of the the Brewmaster clones were caught by those Cogs, and he wasn't able to really get anything done there. So I think, more to like, yes, the 3D was playing super aggressive, but it was definitely Bulba that was able to punish them. It wasn't that, in most situations, if they were able to go and have that Fire Panda running around wreaking havoc, I think they would have been fine. But just great play from Bulba, great awareness of knowing what he needed to do to allow them to win that fight.
Yep, those pandas were, unfortunately for 3D Clan, caged up for the duration of that fight, and that really forced them to attack the Clockwork, who is getting more and more durable as we see him building towards that mech. He has 1100 HP, actually sitting at 10 armor and +2 with the Buckler active, so he can take a few punches and go in there with the best of them to duke it out. So the Panda was forced into that situation, couldn't escape, and from there, I gotta say, yeah, Bulba really made that team fight happen, kept the Gyrocopter alive to keep DPSing, and that's what they needed to make that fight really work out for them. But I gotta say, an interesting pickup for the Gyrocopter, moving in towards a Demon Edge instead of a BKB. A BKB would be great against the Brewmaster's Disables, but I guess the fact that it doesn't avoid the Batrider is enough to make Gyrocopter think towards bigger and better attack damage oriented items.
Yeah, and also he really needs the damage right now. He needs to have a little bit higher impact, so we might even see him go back for a tanky item. Maybe get lifesteal now, maybe get maybe just what is this? Looks like
Bulba does get Demonic Purged up. The damage coming out from the damage over time effects of Venomancer and the Shadow Demon is sufficient to bring him down. Solo takes a big damage from the Soul Assumption, but Batrider getting stunned up pretty hardcore right here. He will most definitely take a fall, but the disruption keeps him alive for the moment. Venomancer drops. Batrider tries to pop off his ultimate, but is going to fall really quickly. So he gives drop down. Korok on the run with that Vendetta movement speed boost. Fluff taking too much damage from Sharfik, double damage, will get dropped down. So Korok will survive, walk away despite the dust, but at the cost of 3 of his allies there.
Yep, and meanwhile Nexus was able to go get more kills, get more experience, and he's sitting at level 50 now, and he's an absolute nightmare. Once this, with that Juxtaposed max, and once he gets that last rank in Phantom Edge, those illusions are going to self-propagate very quickly, and it's just going to accelerate his farm even more, and then it becomes really hard, because what is the Dire going to do once Nexus is able to pick up something like a heart? I don't know if they have the damage to really go and bring him down.
Yeah, it looks like the gyrocopter could be looking towards an MKB, which would nullify a potential butterfly action, but could also just be going for that Daedalus to make sure that his single target damage is on par with the amount of damage that he's dishing out in spades with the AoE potential of Fire Cannon. So he wants to make sure that he can focus down a single target as well as spreading out his damage across the board, but still that MKB long term is going to be necessary if Nexus ends up going for a butterfly after that heart. We'll have to see exactly what his item choice. Generally speaking, this kind of metagame, we more often see a Manta style alongside with the Heart of Tarask, because it just starts off with more illusions. You rely less on RNG. Those kind of factors are very, very relevant in these kinds of games. But it really, one way or another, just as a reminder, guys, this is game 2 of this best of 3, so 3D Clan has to make sure they're on top of it the entire time. They cannot throw this away, and with only a 2k gold advantage and actually losing a little bit on the experience department, it means that every little play counts and every little team fight is going to be a very, very big impact if they want to try to pull this match out.
You know, one thing to come out from TC is that we were talking about the BKB, and in the last fight I think we saw how necessary it is. He doesn't want to get it because it does get, in fact, cancelled by both the Purge goes through it and the Batrider lasso goes through, but if he doesn't have it, I don't think they can go and win fights, so I wouldn't be surprised. I would really rather like to see him go for a BKB
We do
now.
see initiation. Korok going out, overextended, in range of the Sentry Ward, gets picked off.
And that's just going to make it, you know, a little bit easier for them to push. I think they're going to have to, Liquid's going to have to see this tower now. But I would like to see him go back for a BKB, get something to tank up, because if he goes straight for MKB right now, that's a 3,000 gold that isn't really going to help him survive, and I don't know if they can really afford that.
Fair point, fair point. Another kind of long-term reminder to mention to you guys is that after the end of the match, whether it be in this game or in Game 3, depending on how this works out for 3D Clan, we are going to be having a feature that we call Ask the Pros. It's a post-match interview with at least one of the players of the winning team, and you guys can jump into the Twitch channel, twitch.tv/thepremier, type in chat your questions. We'll review a lot of the different questions posted in chat, and from there, just field them towards whatever interviewee that we're going to be looking at, depending on who wins the match. So that's definitely a nice little feature that we like to add to you guys to improve your TPL experience, and we'll be having that after whichever game concludes the match.
Yeah, and one thing to know is Gyrocopter is in fact going for that BKB. He's picked up the Ogre Club, and it seems they're going to go and try to contest this Roshan, and I definitely think they need to do this, because if they allow this Roshan to go uncontested, and they don't get anything out of this, they're just going to keep falling further and further behind. They need to make some big plays happen.
Most definitely. Now, Brewmaster still has that rank 2 Primal Split available. Actually, pretty much all cooldowns are up and at him, other than the Familiars, which are still currently swooping on about and can be putting out a lot of pressure here. But it looks like they're not wanting to commit fully to the Rosh until they have a ton of Plague Wards down. Just trying to poke at him over time, very gradually, and then actually going to smoke to use it as bait. But the Rocket Flare should come out to actually reveal that they're not participating in this, and they're going to have to respond in kind. Now, the smoke... It was dispelled on Solo. They know that he is out in the open and now off of Shadow Demon, so they know exactly what was going on, and now Korok is the only one in an aggressive position, knowing that he can blink out of trouble if he's good enough on his reflexes, which, if that player has revealed anything to us over the past couple of weeks, it's definitely that he is on the ball as far as getting out of trouble. And actually, we do see initiation coming on through, but yeah, that blink follow-up. Now they pop out the Fiend's Grip onto Batrider, want to burn him down, but the defensive disruption means that the stun is nothing, and now there is big Primal Split action. Pandas everywhere, dishing out tons of damage. Familiar's doing a lot, as well as a nice Soul Jump to bring down the Batrider. Solo will probably fall as well. Boba will help him clean that up. IX Mike on the run probably will drop too much. The Nightmare will inevitably fall, and from there the Brewmaster will be able to finish it off, throwing Boba up in the air. But on the back end of things, we do see Nexus, the Nyx Assassin has fallen in pursuit of Fluff and stuff, but I think they have to fall back from here. They don't have the disabled or damage follow-up, and if Liquid can instead turn this around to take Roche for themselves, that could be a really, really big coup for them.
Yeah, and this is a great fight because for the first time, TC has actually survived a fight. For the first time in a while, TC has actually survived a fight. That's going to mean that experience and levels that finally go his way. He's actually hitting level 16 now. The level 3 call down is an absolute nightmare to play against. He's getting very close to finishing that BKB. And one thing to note with Gyrocopter, and this is going to seem like if they go and continue to stay ahead, if they're able to get the BKB, if he's able to go and get items, he'll go and finish an MKB, I'd feel, because he needs to go and get something for that butterfly. But another thing that going for the BKB after picking up that Demon Edge is, if the game goes terribly, he's in a position to go straight into a Rapier and try to get the game back that way. And I think that's kind of TC's thought process here, is he doesn't want to go and finish his big aggressive item until he knows that he doesn't have to go and risk it all on a final kind of risky gambit to make it work.
For sure.
And my throat is gone.
No problem. So we do see him actually finish up that BKB, means that he does not have buyback available for the moment, but it also allows him to fight more extensively. One big issue that he had was just the disables sheerly coming out from Brewmaster and from the Venomancer. The disruption used defensively, that wasn't that large of an impact, but he needs to be able to survive, and just the sheer nukes coming out of 3D Clan brings him about to just over half HP right off the bat, and from there the Phantom Lancer has not too much trouble right-clicking him on down. So I think this is a really good course of action for TC, and he will be able to maneuver more effectively without being disabled up or slowed down in any fashion. Along with that, the, what is it called, Brewmaster's Drunken Haze is a very, very painful debuff. It's kind of an anti-carry mechanism for if once he starts maxing it out, that mischance gets extremely painful as far as trying to actually get some real physical DPS, and the fact that BKB can avoid that and dispel that is going to be very, very crucial.
Yeah, one other thing to note is Team Liquid still going and stacking the hub, allowing TC to get even more farm, and this just shows their consistency. They're not going to go and start forgetting about this. They're always going to try to go and maximize the amount of farm they can get on the map, and it's just, you know, good solid play for them. That's kind of what's allowed them to stay in this game, even when they're dealing with this absolute nightmare that is Nexus's Phantom Lancer. Nexus has finished up that Manta style, and that just means that he's going to be more of a threat in team fights. He's going to get those illusions out quicker. They're going to spawn quicker, and it's just more to deal with. They do have the tools to deal with that in terms of the gyrocopter, but still, like, if a couple illusions go and spawn on a core support hero, like that Bane, like that Visage, there's not much that they can do about it.
Yeah.
Now, another thing is it also goes and speeds up his farm considerably, because those base stats mean that his illusions will propagate, and just the increased move speed is actually surprisingly relevant when you deal with melee heroes like a Phantom Lancer or even like a farming Juggernaut.
Yeah, most definitely. Now, we actually do see that the Brewmaster has finished up his Aghanim Scepter that allows him to essentially rank up his ultimate from rank 2 to rank 3 immediately, and when he hits level 16, that'll be going up to a rank 4, effectively, which will make his Pandas dish out so much damage, have a higher HP pool to work with, and just be that much more of a terror to deal with. When he initiates, if he gets a clap on multiple heroes and gets that Brewmaster ultimate off, the Primal Split, he's going to be able to just wreak havoc in the fight, and that will set up Nexus to dish out so much damage here, because he really just has it all available with that Manta style. Like you said, you could also do something tricky like dodging out the Soul Assumption. If there's a big one headed his way, he could do some neat little dispels or dodges, but mostly just focusing on trying to make sure that his illusions can start spawning really rapidly and start juxtaposing and phantom edging on out.
Yeah, I mean, he's just in a really good position right now. He's got the gold, he's got the farm, and his team's just allowing him to go and get the entire map. Also, it's pretty difficult to contest Nexus right now. He's very tanky. He's sitting at about 2,000 HP, and with a bunch of armor as well. He's got, with 26 armor, that's, you know, a lot more than it looks like. They're going to have to dedicate multiple heroes to him, and if he gets a little bit lucky on procs, he can actually turn around ganks quite effectively. So Team Liquid's in a very rough situation with what they need to do. They're trying to perhaps go for a smoke here and get an easy pickoff, but we'll go and see if Fluff's Complexity Smoke Gangs still have their same flavor.
Most definitely. If they do make this work, though, that means that Fluff will be able to finish up that Pipe of Insight, which he does have the mana to support, and that could be a very big deal going on to these engagements, because I guess I'll shut up about the long-term stuff, because we do see this flank going on in, but it looks like it's all illusions. They're looking for Nexus, but he's over far, far away, and not over by the jungle. He is actually nearby his Ancients and heading towards his own jungle to farm up safely. So just good action and movement from him to know that he doesn't know where the enemy is and wants to make sure that he's not going to be caught off guard. But the long-term thing that I was talking about, check out the gold graph and the experience graph. It's actually kind of on the edge of a knife right now. They've been back and forth. The 5,000, 6,000 gold advantage is nothing in a 32-minute game. And from there, yeah, there is an advantage of 3D Clan, and it's continuously going up with Nexus farming more and more, but a single team fight could change this up, as we've seen on the experience graph. It's been back and forth all the way across the match. Every single team fight means something different, and right now Liquid currently has a small disadvantage, but I gotta say that actually it is an advantage, but either way, it's going to come down to initiation. Who can jump on in appropriately, if they can get the Bat Rider picked off before the lasso, or just burn him down during it. Those kinds of things are a big factor, but now we look at this Roche engage. Sharfik getting bashed up a couple times over, not having so much fun in the Roche pit as he would intend to, but the Rocket shows what's going on, and they need to start looking to retaliate if they want to actually be able to contest this.
Yeah, I mean, this is actually a really bit of an awkward time for the 3D. I'm not sure if they really should be picking a fight here because they're so close to that level 16 of handles, and they're, surprisingly close to that Phantom Lancer's heart. So they're playing super aggressive now, and I don't know if they really have any need to, because as you were saying, it is a surprisingly close game. But I think if they're able to go and get that level 16, and they're able to go and get that heart on Phantom Lancer, that's going to change quite a bit. Because while the golden experience might be similar, the spread is really bad for Team Liquid. Right now, the majority of the gold advantage is the things that's keeping the gold even, rather, on Team Liquid is the fact that Venomancer and Shadow Demon are very, very underfarmed, but it actually doesn't matter because those heroes, they don't need a ton of farm, and if the Venomancer is able to hit level 11, he's going to do enough damage. He just needs to Gale on multiple and get his ult off, and that's literally all he needs to do as a hero. The Shadow Demon's defensive disruptions have been really on point. He's not trying to get too aggressive. He's just trying to go and protect his carry, protect his Bat Rider. In between, man, Korok.
Korok is in aggressive position here. He did bring out that courier, and he will be able to walk away, taking a little bit of money in tax. So that's going to delay how rapidly they can get their items. Going to have to go back to base for them. And if that was the heart recipe, that could be really big. But I think it probably was just one of the two components.
Yeah, I believe that was in fact the no. I mean, he has the Reaver on him. There was just a magic wand at a town portal sitting on that courier.
No big.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, one thing to keep in mind is all these sentry wards that are down for the Radiant right now, they want to control this area where Korok may be roaming about, Gyrocopter TC might be trying to flank on in with the Shadow Blade, and they want to try to keep tabs on that, but every single sentry they drop is less money in the hands of their supports. They can't go for Ghost Scepters or other survivability type items, and so we see the Shadow Demon and Venomancer mutually are having a really rough time staying afloat as far as items go. We do see IX Mike kind of in the same boat, but he does have a couple of bracers at least to focus on staying alive.
Yeah, it seems like Liquid's going for another smoke gank, trying to get a pick off, but if you just look at it, it's very difficult for them to gank anything. There's just a ton of illusions, allowing Nexus to get the farm he needs while being in relative safety.
Yeah, so Nexus is technically close to the enemy, but really is not at any point in danger, because if they focus all their eggs in one basket trying to bring down Nexus, he has enough survivability with 2400 HP currently that they could easily retaliate, jump in with the Brewmaster and the Bat Rider, and counter-initiate to completely destroy what Liquid have going on. Now, one thing to note is TC has been farming kind of amazingly. Looking at the fact that we were talking about back and forth between MKB and BKB, what timing he should get them, not only has he finished out the BKB, but the MKB turn the Demon Edge and adding in that extra 3k gold. So now he will not be missing even when he is not immune to magic, and that is going to make sure that he can have a huge amount of DPS, and along with that, a lot of attack damage. Sitting right now at over 270. That means he's just going to be able to deliver huge amounts of right clicks in an AoE, and it looks like Roche will go to them, and that is really immense for them as well. The Sentry Wards have expired, and it looks like Radiant supports have just not kept up as much as far as the Observer Wards go. So TC picking up that Aegis and that Gyrocopter is going to be a very, very painful thing to deal with now.
Yeah, I mean, that was just a bit of a misplay coming out from the Bat Rider. Once he get top, he basically ceded the Roche to the enemy team, because if they don't have to worry about that lasso, if they don't have to worry about just fighting through all those flames and dealing with that really super irritating sticky napalm, it's pretty easy for them to win a fight. The Phantom Monster is not quite at the point where he can just go 1v5, but he has in fact finished that hard. If he's able to get another item, if he's able to pick up that butterfly, even though that TC is going to be able to hit him through that, if he finishes the butterfly, he's going to still just be able to dish out way too much damage, attack far too quickly, and it's only TC that's able to get off that True Strike, and I believe it's only on the main hit from his Flak Cannon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the primary hit will still always hit is the idea there, and Flak Cannon doesn't miss with or without evasion, so that's not going to be an issue.
True, actually. Yeah, you're 100% right.
But we do see the Pipe of Insight finished up on Visage, so raring to go. The Poison Nova, being ranked 2, will be, for the most part, nullified by this big cooldown there. They pop it off at the same time, and suddenly, for 8 seconds, that Nova won't be taken away. And actually, Venomancer, wow, yeah, almost dropping down there. He just flanking on in, trying to find his opening, but using the Blink Dagger effectively forces Venomancer back for the moment, but not able to actually net the frag. So now we see Nexus coming on in to farm away, and this is Tier 1 Tower. It's just showing how much 3D Clan want to stand their ground and draw a line in the sand, because this kind of thing generally wouldn't be surviving for much longer at all. IX Mike was looking for a Fiend's Grip on the invisible Brewmaster, but Sharfik falling back as soon as he started getting hit by Flak Cannon, knowing he was visible. Tier 1 Tower finally falls. Gyrocopter picking up the last hit on that, and they want to move in with this Aegis to try to go for effectively a 6v5.
Yeah, in the meantime, though, it seems like look at these Phantom Lancer losing, just solo pushing top, and this is basically he's built himself a Nature's Prophet to go and split push for him, and these solutions are just going and getting him a bunch of gold. He's not getting experience with these creeps, but I mean, it's absolutely insane. He's like, in fact farming 2 lanes right now, and he can even start sending things in the jungle. He's playing Nexus is playing this, in the most irritating and what I think is probably the most correct fashion. You don't want to get into a team fight against Team Liquid right now. They have the chance of winning a team fight, but if you just go and keep splitting the map, they won't be able to get into that team fight situation. You're just going to slowly get more and more damage on their T3 towers. It's not a very fun thing to go and play against, and it's honestly not the most exciting thing to play yourself. But Nexus 3D just showing that they have that kind of winner's mentality. They're going to try to win this game, and they're going to do it in the way they think is the safest.
Mm-hmm. Now, what do you think is next for TC under these circumstances? Do you go for the Helm of the Dominator Divine? It looks like he is picking up that Eagle Song for a Butterfly of his own, but it's just, I guess he just wants that raw right-click damage, but also to survive against the Phantom Lancer who has yet to pick up an MKB. So that's kind of his mindset there, and it will help him quite a bit. But like I was saying, as far as late game potential to deal with all these clones of the Phantom Lancer, do you think a Divine Rapier is going to be necessary when we hit towards the 50-minute mark?
Yeah, I think that if he gets crit, it should be fine as well. And Eagle Song is just so much attack speed and damage that it's not necessarily bad either. What he really doesn't want to happen is for the Phantom Lancer to throw a lance at him and for him to lose his mana immediately before he's able to get off all this big cooldowns, because the ability's gone for right now without a drum to work with. He doesn't have a very large mana supply. Like 925. Actually, I take it all back. He should be fine.
Honestly, the int gain on Gyrocopter is 2.1. It's not too shabby at all, and he's able to do what he needs to. Of course, also feedback is nullified by BKB, so although we do see some split push coming in from these illusions, they are trying to look into mid lane, and now they kind of have to make a decision. If Phantom Lancer doesn't get a proc here, they'll be in an okay spot, but we actually see the initiation on mid. That disruption already came on through on the Brewmaster. The Gale goes wide, and now they are going on the Batrider. This is the big initiation they needed. Picking him off completely is where they go in. TC can do whatever he wants now, and just kind of batter down on the tower. He has that BKB and can survive through anything. So the Batrider has no buyback available, and that's really, really big. For the next minute, TC can go in relentlessly as long as he's not tanking tower and just pretty much accomplish whatever he needs to. Bulba, long range hook shot going on through, pops off the cogs to separate the team fight, but they need to focus on the tier 2 for the moment. They can't siege up after the cogs, so they're just going to kind of force them back for the moment as they just focus down on this tower rapidly. But that is, for the moment, forcing 3D Clan back, and they actually got the pick off on the Shadow Demon in the process.
Yeah, I mean, this is just the fight that 3D Clan was looking for, and they're still that Liquid was looking for. They're still looking to pressure 3D Clan.
Oh, big clap going on to TC. A lot of damage coming on through. They pop off the Primal Split. A lot of damage across the board. The Pipe will not help TC to stay alive. The Aegis bringing him back up. The Poison Nova going on through, but now he is an easy target with the Call Down active as well as the Carapace. That is one dead Venomancer now looking to put damage across the board into the tower. Pops off that BKB. Not sure if it was the right timing for it, but either way, he will be able to just dish out the damage he needs to onto the PL Illusions. Brewmaster's ultimate about to expire. He pops off his Tornado as his kind of last piece of action before the watches Liquid as they fall back. Bane trying to escape, and in the end just going to Nightmare himself trying to get the disable on somebody before falling. So it does buy time. That's the intention there, is to make sure that they can buy time for their allies to retreat, to defend their towers, and to make sure that nobody but the Bane himself falls. But in the end, only a tier 2 tower kill for the Aegis.
Yeah, and that just goes to show, like, that's the importance of going and defending your towers throughout the early game, because if you're able to go and defend them early, it means that just one bad fight isn't going to go and cost you racks. They basically had to give up 2 towers there, but, that's something that they can afford. They couldn't afford to lose a racks against the kind of lineup from Team Liquid. And looking at this, it seems like TC has finally overtaken the Phantom Lancer in terms of net worth, finishing that Butterfly completely and now going for lifesteal. And if you get able to pick up lifesteal, it's going to be very difficult to deal with him. I don't even know if, unless Phantom Lancer goes and really focuses, I don't know if they're going to be able to take TC down. And even with Phantom Lancer focus, that's a lot of armor, that's a lot of evasion.
Yeah. Every single one of these team fights, the one thing they've needed is for Sirvoka to be able to initiate with that Blink, Lasso, and Force Staff, pulling Gyrocopter out of position and focusing him down before they have any chance to accomplish anything. But Liquid have done such a great job every single time they get the chance, going on this Batrider time and time again. Even if he gets a Lasso off, they kill him immediately after the fact so that it doesn't disable their ally for much longer. And from there, he is able to just do everything that he needs to, stay on top of dish out his damage, and the BKB is pretty much all that he needs to have to accomplish what he intends. So that is just really, really effective for them. It's been... Sorry?
Oh, sorry. I'm just dying here.
Okay.
Excuse me. I'm just a little bit bad on my mute micro there, but Just continue.
Okay, so we do have Nyx Assassin making his way towards the Scythe of Vice, as well the Brewmaster trying to finish up that Assault Cuirass, and that will be available in a moment. So both of those are going to be pretty big deals, but Phantom Lancer is one of those heroes that as long as he pops off the Manta or a Lance Prior, can still dish out a ton of damage with illusions alone. Beyond that, not really sure what to say about things. There are just a small army of Catmen going on through, all getting cogs on back, and the Flat Cannon can deal with those with relative ease. So it's not really a major threat, and they're just going to burn them down real quick, as you can see.
Yeah, but I mean, it's surprising that looking at how much damage TC does, the fact that those get 3-shot after they got stunned by Quark, it really goes to show like how tanky these Phantom Lancer illusions are. And it's just going to get even more so that he's going to pick up the Eagle Song, and just that flat agility is going to give him a lot of armor to work with as well. This is just constantly spamming out Manta and going and pushing out waves. While it is going and buying them a lot of time, is giving Phantom
Korok on
Lancer
solo, finds him out. Big kill here if they can finish it. Clockwork to help him out. That is 100% pick off, and they definitely, putting the Venomancer in the grave for 45 will help them as they try to maneuver around the map and get some more control.
Yep, just a really good play there. And like I was saying, this is the Phantom Lancer illusions. The fact that they're pushing it's definitely crippling the amount of farm that everyone else on his team can get. If you look at this Panda, he has his. Oh wow! Actually, I take it all back. He's managed to finish an AC. That's going to be huge in team fights.
Yeah, Sharfik has kind of bounced back a little bit. The AC Aura, if he can just keep that alive by them ignoring the Pandas, as so far they've mostly done, that means that he can help out Phantom Lancer so much as far as armor penetration, keep his allies alive just a little bit more. And prior to the AC, look at Batrider's armor. He was sitting at a base armor of 6 at level 16 and now up to 7. So that armor is really going to help those intellect heroes. Venomancer, Shadow Demon, Batrider needed it to survive, and now they actually have that option. Were they not sitting on a Basilius? Is that the issue? Yeah, it doesn't seem like they've had a Basilius all game long, and so they didn't have that armor to work with, and I guess you could technically say the same about Team Liquid as well.
And it's just every little bit counts, and the fact that they didn't have Basilius, they didn't have the Basilius Aura, while it doesn't stack that well with AC, the fact is you're getting those items at such different times. Even if you plan to get an AC later in the game, it's definitely worth the gold investment when you consider how mana hungry heroes like the Shadow Demon and the Venomancer is. It's a little bit strange not to see that picked up earlier, but the Venomancer has managed to go and pick up a Bracer and a Ghost Scepter, which means that he's not going to instantly die, which means there's a pretty good chance he's going to be able to get off his spells as he needs to. And here we have the entire team just wants to go and follow the Shadowcat train. They're going and following these PL illusions, waiting for the Dire to go and clean them up, and then just going and jumping them immediately. This is a really good tactic here.
Yeah, it's actually a really good maneuver. They've seen this time and time again that their team goes like, okay, throw a couple guys down here. We'll just counter push against these guys, make sure that our tower doesn't take too much damage. But along with that, they can initiate, play very aggressively, and now they're moving in towards the Roche pit, making sure that that's not something they missed out on here. They are placing a lot of sentries, which I don't think they need to with the Geometry Sight active on the Panda, but from there, just putting up a wall of Plague Wards here could allow them to put huge amounts of damage into the Roche, which is what they seem to be looking to at this moment.
Yeah, and that Roche is going to melt with that AC going on through. Look how much damage Nyx is able to go through. And one thing to note is, while Roche immediately pops every illusion, they are going to, in fact, be able to get one attack off.
Yeah, it's going to be a tense moment. They have to try to contest this, but with the blocking here, I don't think Liquid can. That is just very painful. And actually, Dire gets the kill, though. Familiars do finish off the Roche at the very least, so a nice little gold game for them. And that is a little bit cheeky play, but the primary trophy, the Aegis the Immortal, in the hands of the Phantom Lancer, that's definitely what they were looking for.
Yeah, and with that Butterfly finish, Butterfly, Heart, Diffusal 2, Magistyle, this is basically a fully decked Phantom Lancer. He's just, holding on to that Aegis right now. And I guess the one comforting thing is it can't get much worse for Team Liquid. This is about as strong as Nexus got. He might get, be able to pick up one more item, maybe picking up something like a Satanic to get even tankier, to get even more, stats to work with on his illusions. But this is what they're going to have to be able to hold off, and we'll see. Is TC going to be able to do it? He's sitting on 46.
Force-staffed out of position. Oh, that was his force-staff. Put himself in a bad spot, baiting a little bit, but it looks like he won't pay the price for it. In the end, Korok is trying to rotate around. Hopefully he knows about that gem, but for the moment, the tower has fallen. And that is just going to be both of them trying to find the opening, trying to initiate on him. Batrider wants to jump in at the right time without getting picked off. It's really just a Mexican standoff here as Bulba and the Batrider are both willing to try to get in the right position. Can we get a hookshot on this Batrider? He is visible, but they're not really willing to go outside the base. That high ground, too good of a grouping mechanism. And from there, we just see the Phantom Lancer disruption.
TC's got a rapier.
Oh, he does. Oh my gosh, that's big. This is big damage coming out. Oh my gosh, the initiation comes through. Loba starting off onto Sharpik, trying to stun him up, but they don't get the disables. Instead, that Panda is going to be able to wreak havoc. Servo trying to get that lasso off, taking too much damage. TC with that pipe BKB, just delivering the hurt. Instead, only the Earth Panda will survive. Now, trying to turn over to Nexus. They're just right-clicking him on down. Do they have detection? I can't tell, but that is going to be the death of Korok here. Focusing down on the Brewmaster, trying to burn him down before the Primal Split expires. Nexus also dropping the Aegis, dropping down on the ground. Just too much right-click damage. Korok still on full, completely ignored thus far. Now he's doing it out with Nexus, but the Brewmaster clap, and he's just going to have to stand there and right-click, and instead is going to take a fall. That is the Divine Rapier on the ground. Nexus picks it up, gets a triple kill, trying to turn it around. Buybacks will not help them here. The Divine Rapier is in the hands of the PL, and he's too darn tanky to be able to contest it. Some people in the chat will be saying big throws at this very moment, but it's not that. They needed the damage to be able to try to win this fight, but it just wasn't enough in the end, and good game is called.
Yeah, it was just really great play coming from 3D there, and they just weren't able to go into. They were able to keep the Sharpik alive for long enough, so he was able to come back and assist his Phantom Lancer, able to get him that kill. And man, that's got to be rough for Team Liquid. I believe they will have to go to Game 3, and this is going to be to defend. I believe what is a 16-game streak from them. Just not able to go and put enough pressure on in the early game, and just Nexus completely steamrolled out of control, especially after that fight in mid lane where he was able to go and pick off a bunch of kills super early on.
Yeah, that has just been a ridiculous game, but across the board we see this gold graph back up to 5K. It's been 5K multiple times over throughout this really back and forth game. Team fights everywhere, and some successful, some unsuccessful, but in the end we see it catapulting up past 12K now that they have completely dominated that team fight and now are taking down every tower, every building in the book, and going to be able to finish off the Ancient in a moment. So that is just the power of Phantom Lancer going up to level 22, sitting at 36K net worth. It's just too much. Actually, I'm not sure. I'll just go GPM. That's going to be most accurate despite the disconnects. 662 GPM on a 50-minute Phantom Lancer. That's how it goes, and that is just the hard carry potential that Nexus brings to the table on 3D Clan's lineup. So they secured the late game. They got to it, and from there, really solid play across the board for both teams. But it's going to go Game 2 in favor of 3D Clan, taking down Team Liquid, and we're going to go on to Game 3 of this best-of-3 series in just a minute.
Yeah, I mean, great game coming out from 3D Clan. They were able to go and kind of ride out that early aggression and, just played super safe. Nexus did not take a single chance that game. The entirety of 3D Clan took no chance. They were just like, okay, we'll push out with PL illusions, we'll push out with PL illusions, we'll push out with PL illusions. Just don't fight. Eventually he'll have items. Eventually we'll get an Aegis on him. We don't have to fight now. What's the point? And it worked out for them. And I think if they decided to go high ground any earlier, the amount of damage coming up from TC, from those great cogs from Bulba going in, messing up fights, having to go and deal with all the disables from the Bane and the Nyx Assassin, I don't know if they could have won. So they took the safest path to victory, and in the end, it worked out for them.
Most definitely. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in. This is going to be the end of Game 2. We're going to go on to Game 3 in just a minute, so stay tuned. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this game. This is Blaze and Rainmaker. Throw you guys over to some music, and we'll have the game up in a few minutes.